Okay, so I was just reading this interesting disclosure from HDFC Bank. And, the numbers are actually pretty fascinating. They've released their key business volume figures for the quarter ending December 31st, 2024.
Oh, interesting. So, what's got your attention? I mean, beyond just the usual numbers.
Well, first off, their average advances under management, that's everything like loans, grew by about 7.6% year on year, reaching 26,276 billion rupees. That's a substantial jump, I think.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid increase, actually. It's good to see growth in lending. It shows that, there's demand in the market for loans.
Right. And what's even more intriguing is the split. Apparently, retail loans grew by around 10%, while commercial and rural banking loans saw an even larger growth at 11.5%. But corporate loans, they actually went down by about 10.3%.
That's quite a mix, actually. So, it looks like they're focusing more on individual consumers and smaller businesses and maybe pulling back a bit from the larger corporate sector, well, at least for this quarter.
Exactly. It also looks like their securitized or assigned loans worth 216 billion rupees this quarter as a strategic move. Does this mean they are essentially selling off some of their loan assets?
Well, yes, it does. It's like a bank selling a mortgage to another investor. It frees up their balance sheet and it allows them to, manage their risk a bit better.
That makes sense. Now, when we look at the deposit side, the numbers are even more impressive. The average deposits grew by a whopping 15.9% year on year, reaching 24,527 billion rupees for the quarter.
Wow, that's a massive increase in deposits. I mean, it suggests that the bank is really attracting a lot of savings. And, that's important for a bank stability.
Yeah, and breaking that down, average CASA deposits grew by 6%, which is okay. But the real story is in time deposits, which grew by 21.5%. It seems customers are choosing those fixed term deposits more.
That's a significant shift, actually, indicating that people are probably going for those higher interest rates on time deposits. It's like when you're shopping and you decide to buy the item that's on sale rather than the regular priced one. Well, for higher returns here.
Very much. That's a good analogy, actually. Now, the end of season numbers also show similar trends, with total deposits growing by 15.8% year on year. The time deposits jumped by a massive 22.7%.
Right. And that's a strong indication that they are managing their deposit portfolio very well. It's like, a gardener carefully tending to the growth of various plants.
Okay, so if we try and summarize that, essentially, HDFC Bank has seen really strong growth in deposits, particularly in time deposits, while their loan growth is good, but has variations across different segments.
Precisely. It shows a very interesting mix in their financial health. The increase in lending is good for growth, but the surge in deposits, particularly time deposits, well, that could also suggest a bit of risk-averse customer behavior.
So it's almost like a balancing act, a push and pull between lending and customer savings. I mean, it makes you think, how does this affect their overall risk profile?
Well, that's an important question. See, as deposits increase, their liability side grows, which is fine as long as they're lending efficiently. But that reduction in corporate loans, well, that might signal caution in that sector.
It's also interesting to note that period end CASA deposits actually went down slightly compared to the previous quarter. Is that a concern?
Well, a slight dip in CASA deposits could mean that customers are shifting funds to those higher earning time deposits. But it also means the bank needs to work harder at attracting and retaining current account and savings account balances.
Okay, I understand. So now the bank must focus on its low cost funding. So I am curious, how do you think these numbers will play into their strategy moving forward?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, this data will definitely influence their decisions around lending rates, deposit rates, and probably their sectoral focus.
It almost feels like they are trying to navigate through like different economic conditions. I mean, how would you say they're managing their risk and growth based on these numbers?
Well, from this data, it seems they are actively managing their balance sheet. They are being very strategic in their lending, focusing on areas where they see the most potential, while, managing risks in other areas. It's like a chess player thinking several moves ahead.
Right. And I guess those strategic loan assignments or securitizations are part of that risk management strategy too. Selling off some loans to balance the overall risk.
Exactly. It's all part of their plan. They're trying to optimize their capital and manage their exposures across different sectors. It's like a good chef using various ingredients in different proportions for a balanced dish.
That's a good way to put it. And so these numbers will probably have some impact on the share price, or at least they will guide the analyst views on the stock.
Oh, definitely. These kinds of disclosures, they can move the markets. I mean, they are key indicators of a bank's health and future outlook and how investors see their profitability.
So to summarize, we have seen HDFC Bank report solid growth in deposits, especially time deposits, while managing its loan portfolio strategically with, some shifts in focus across different sectors.
Absolutely. And they're being quite careful with their risk management. The growth in overall deposits is a very good thing, but they need to also focus on their lower cost funding channels like CASA deposits.
And it looks like it's a quarter of some quite interesting shifts, especially that the corporate loans have gone down and they seem to be focusing on the retail sector.
Correct. It's a reflection of both customer behavior and the bank's strategic decisions. It paints a very interesting picture for the coming quarters, actually.
So I wonder, will we see them continue this trend of focusing on retail, and perhaps the growth of time deposits may affect their bottom line in the coming quarters?
Well, that's what everyone will be watching for. How they adapt to these shifts in customer behavior and market conditions will be really interesting to see.
Oh, and speaking of strategic moves, I just came across some news that HDFC Bank has received approval from the Reserve Bank of India to acquire up to a 9.5% stake in AU Small Finance Bank.
Oh, that's interesting. So they're expanding their reach even further. I guess this is part of their broader strategy to diversify and strengthen their position in the market.
Yeah, and it's not just AU Small Finance Bank. They've also got the nod to acquire similar stakes in Kotak Mahindra Bank and Capital Small Finance Bank.
Wow, that's quite ambitious. It seems like they're really positioning themselves for growth across different segments.
Exactly. It's like they're building a more robust financial ecosystem, and these acquisitions could play a big role in their future strategy.
Definitely. It'll be interesting to see how these moves pan out and how they integrate these new stakes into their overall business model.
Agreed. So it looks like HDFC Bank is not just focusing on internal growth, but also making strategic external moves to strengthen their position.
Absolutely. It's all part of their plan to stay ahead in the game. Let's see how it all unfolds in the coming months.
For sure. Well, that's all we have for today. Thanks for breaking it all down.
Anytime. It's always interesting to dive into these financial stories and see what's happening behind the numbers.
Agreed. Until next time.
See you.